Welcome back to Coronation Street Update. Have you ever believed something so completely, so absolutely, that you would trust it over your own eyes? Imagine waking up every day unsure of what's real, unsure of who you can trust, unsure whether the voice guiding you is trying to help or destroy you, because that's exactly the nightmare Sam Blakeman is living through. And next week, everything changes. A terrifying moment inside Roy's rolls will force Sam to confront a horrifying truth. A truth that could save him, or completely shatter him. And what happens next is one of the most heartbreaking storylines Coronation Street has delivered in years. Because this isn't a murder mystery. This isn't a revenge plot. This is a young boy fighting a battle inside his own mind. And trust me, the emotional fallout is devastating. Welcome back to Coronation Street Update. Tonight we're diving deep into Sam Blakeman's most emotional storyline yet. A story built on fear, confusion, isolation, and a terrifying struggle to understand reality itself. For weeks now, viewers have watched Sam become increasingly trapped inside a world nobody else can see. A world where danger lurks around every corner. A world where Will Driscoll appears to be a threat. And most disturbingly of all, a world where Roy Cropper seems to be encouraging him to act. At first glance it seemed unsettling, then concerning. Now it's becoming genuinely frightening. Because Sam doesn't realize that the version of Roy he's been seeing isn't Roy at all. It's a hallucination. A manifestation of the psychosis quietly taking hold of his mind. But Sam doesn't know that. How could he? To him the visions feel real. The conversations feel real. The warnings feel real. And that's what makes this storyline so emotionally powerful. The enemy isn't hiding somewhere in Weatherfield. The enemy is hiding inside Sam's own thoughts. But then everything changes. And it happens during one terrifying moment that nobody sees coming. Sam becomes convinced that Will is pursuing him. Fear takes over. Panic takes over. Reason disappears. Desperate to escape, Sam runs. Not home. Not to Nick. Not to Leanne. But straight to Roy's cafe. And what happens there changes everything. The frightened teenager rushes inside and locks the door behind him. His breathing is frantic. His thoughts are racing. His fear is overwhelming. But then he looks up. Suddenly, the impossible happens. Sam sees two Roys. Not one. Two. One is the sinister version he's been seeing for weeks. The unsettling figure whispering warnings into his ear. The version convincing him that danger is everywhere. But standing right beside him is the real Roy Cropper. Calm, kind, gentle. The Roy everyone knows and trusts. And for the first time, Sam's reality begins to crack. Imagine that moment. Imagine seeing two versions of the same person standing in front of you. One real, one not. How terrifying would that be? How confusing. How utterly devastating. This is the moment Sam's entire world begins to unravel. Because suddenly he can no longer explain what he's seeing. And deep down, a horrifying possibility starts to emerge. What if the version he's trusted all this time wasn't real? What if everything he's believed has been a lie? And that's when things take a darker turn. The hallucination immediately tries to regain control. It offers explanations, excuses, manipulation. The false Roy suggests that Will is somehow behind everything. That it's another trick, another trap, another reason not to trust anyone. It's chilling. Because psychosis doesn't simply create hallucinations. It creates certainty. The certainty that what you're experiencing must be true. And that certainty can be incredibly difficult to break. But thankfully, the real Roy is there. Patient, compassionate, understanding. Exactly the person Sam needs in that moment. While everyone else has been struggling to understand what's happening, Roy responds with kindness. Slowly, very slowly, Sam begins to gain clarity. For the first time he starts questioning what he's been seeing. For the first time reality begins pushing back against the hallucinations. And what happens next is heartbreaking. Because this isn't a victory. Not yet. It's the beginning of a painful realization. The realization that something is seriously wrong. The realization that he cannot trust his own mind. The realization that he needs help. And no child should ever have to carry that burden alone. Meanwhile, the people closest to Sam are finally beginning to understand the severity of the situation. For weeks, warning signs have been building. Small moments. Subtle changes. Tiny cracks that were easy to overlook. But now those cracks have become impossible to ignore. Especially for Nick. Because Nick is witnessing a version of his son he barely recognizes. The sweet, intelligent, thoughtful boy he knows is disappearing behind fear and confusion. And the transformation is terrifying. What makes this even more emotional is that Nick isn't just worried anymore. He's frightened. Genuinely frightened. Not of Sam, but for Sam. Because he can see his son slipping further away. And he doesn't know how to stop it. But perhaps the most important figure in this story isn't Nick. It's Carla Connor. Because Carla has been here before. She knows what psychosis looks like. She knows how convincing hallucinations can become. She knows how dangerous it is when reality starts to fracture. While others hesitate, Carla recognizes the warning signs immediately. And that's hugely significant. Psychologically, Carla's role in this storyline is incredibly powerful. She isn't looking at Sam with judgment. She isn't looking at him with fear. She's looking at him with understanding. Because she knows exactly how terrifying this experience can be. And when Carla raises the alarm, people finally start listening. Nick listens. The family listens. And suddenly everyone realizes this isn't teenage behavior. This isn't acting out. This isn't attention-seeking. This is a mental health crisis. And it's becoming dangerous. But that may not be the whole truth. Because this storyline isn't really about hallucinations. It's about isolation. It's about what happens when someone suffers in silence. Sam has been carrying this fear alone. Keeping his struggles hidden. Trying to make sense of experiences nobody else could understand. And now those hidden fears are finally exploding into the open. My prediction? This cafe scene will become the turning point of the entire storyline. Not because it fixes everything, but because it finally forces the adults around Sam to see the truth. The road ahead won't be easy. Recovery never is. There will be setbacks. There will be painful conversations. There will be moments of fear. But there will also be support, understanding, and hope. Because for the first time in weeks, Sam isn't facing this battle alone. And that could make all the difference. One thing is certain. This storyline is about to become even more emotional. Even more heartbreaking. And possibly one of Coronation Street's most important stories of the year. Because sometimes the scariest battles aren't fought in dark alleys or behind closed doors. Sometimes they're fought inside our own minds. And for Sam Blakeman, that battle is only just beginning. If you've been following this storyline, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think this moment will finally help Sam realize what's happening? Will Carla become the key person in his recovery? And how emotional was that scene with the two Roys? If you're enjoying our Coronation Street coverage, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We'll be here covering every twist, every revelation, and every emotional moment from Weatherfield. Thanks for watching Coronation Street Update. And until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and stay hooked.